have to find some way of getting to a deal with China, and I think China knows that, which is obviously why the president's going to meet with their president. Expectations are high. I see why the White House is trying to downplay the expectations, but I think that everyone's looking at this and expecting the president to walk away with some kind of a deal.
Bill, we just heard from Eunice that in China, expectations are the best they can hope for is a truce. What do you think the best case scenario is?
I think the Chinese are right on this. There's not enough time in the next 2 or 3 days to deal with all the issues, most of which you just identified, which are the same issues they've been wrestling with for the last 6 months. I think expecting them to solve all those problems in the next 72 hours is unlikely. What the best outcome here, I think, is handshake, smiles, agreement to go back to the table. Trump does not impose new tariffs, and then we go through this again.
You know, Chris, Eunice just laid out those difficulties that are there. China not wanting to buy as many products as President Trump's going to want, but the bigger issue being no recourse, that this is going to be a unilateral deal that the U.S. can decide if it's working or not and walk away from. We spoke with Kevin Rudd last week, who's the former Prime Minister of Australia. He's very close to people on both sides of this situation. He says, in terms of buying more products, the Chinese may cave on that, but he doubts they will cave on the issue of whether or not they'll have any way to turn back if they think that they're being treated unfairly.
Look, I think that my experience with China, the last 4 administrations in Washington, is that they do a lot of talking, and we, the United States, are the ones who are actually living by the rules. And so I think it's more than fair of us to expect and demand that we be given the latitude to be able to protect our products and protect our markets when necessary. And so I think that's not an unrealistic expectation or not an unrealistic demand on behalf of the United States. Now, I see it from China's perspective as well, but clearly we have a long track record of keeping with the rules, and they don't.
If that's the case, why should we even care about a deal that they agreed to now if they're not going to follow it anyway? They just say okay, and then if they don't like it, they do what they want down the road anyway.
If we have the opportunity to unilaterally to defend our markets and defend our products, yeah, I think it's.
I think they'd say you have the unilateral right, but then it turns around and there would be tit for tat all over again. I mean, that's the crazy thing on some of these things is. Maybe they'll just say yes and go along and do whatever they want, like they've been doing for years.
They have a long track record of doing so, right? I mean, right. I think that we have to protect. We have to pretend that they're good actors and work with them as good actors. Hopefully, they will become and accept them to the fold of the other large economies in the world and start doing things the way that they should be done in a realistic way and in a law-abiding way.